Chapter 1. History of Vegetarianism. To get a good understanding of being a vegetarian, vegetarian food, and cooking it will help to learn about the origins of vegetarianism. Vegetarianism can be traced back to ancient Egyptian society where many religious sects abstained from eating meat or wearing clothing that was made from animal skins due to their beliefs in reincarnation. The practice could also be found in ancient Greece. Most notably, the famed scholar Pythagoras, known for his contributions in the field of mathematics, believed that being a vegetarian was an essential part of being a good human and would help lead to a peaceful existence. The idea of being a vegetarian was hotly debated by the Greeks throughout their civilization. This was one idea that the Romans did not share with the Greeks. Romans saw animals as a source of food and entertainment for the masses. Vegetarianism and religion. Adhering to a vegetarian diet is central to many religions. Buddhism shows kindness to all living things, and its believers hold many animals to be sacred for what they provide to humans, whether it's milk or as work animals to help plow fields. Followers of Christianity had different views when it came to being a vegetarianism. Christians believe that humans reign over all other living things on earth, meaning that they believe that animals are here for their use, whether that means as beasts of burden or as a food source. However, that does not mean that all Christians are carnivores. Throughout history, different sects of Christians have broken with the mainstream beliefs and preached a vegetarian lifestyle. Vegetarianism played a key role for Christians in Eastern Europe. Among these groups were the Bogomils that rose up in the 900s in what is now modern-day Bulgaria. The Bogomils were seen as heretics because they spoke out against what they saw as the excesses of monasteries and the Eastern Orthodox Church. They rejected the physical world and forswore the consumption of eggs, meat, and cheese that led them to lead a vegetarian lifestyle. Hinduism. While not all Hindus practice vegetarianism, a substantial portion of the followers of the religion, up to 35%, adhere to a vegetarian lifestyle. Those that live as vegetarians believe the idea of nonviolence applies to animals, and that by avoiding the slaughter of animals, they will not bring bad karma upon their family. The influence of vegetarianism on the Hindu religion came from its predecessor Brahmanism, in which violence against animals was strictly controlled with its scriptures only allowing the slaughter of animals for religious sacrifice. In addition, the Brahmanism views are also expressed in the Hindu law book, the Dharmasastra, which denounced the slaughter of animals and the consumption of meat unless it was performed in a proper religious sacrifice performed by priests. Today, the slaughter of animals based on these principles has almost come to an end. Other religions. Other major religions throughout the world, to include Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, have followers that adhere to a vegetarian diet, but the religions do not have a strict policy concerning the consumption of animals. However, when it comes to Judaism and Islam, followers of these religions will not consume meat unless it has been slaughtered through the traditional halal method for Muslims and kosher method for followers of Judaism. While both of these religions allow their followers to eat meat that has been prepared in the proper manner, they both avoid eating pork and meat from carnivorous animals, to include birds of prey. Chapter 2. Types of Vegetarians. If you're looking to join the vegetarian lifestyle, there are different options from which you can choose. These different options give you the opportunity to ease your way into the scene without having to jump into the deep end with no life vest. You no longer have to make the decision to swear off meat altogether to be a vegetarian, and you can choose to be one of the 4 types. Strict vegetarian or vegan. Strict vegetarians are also known as vegans, and as their name implies, they do not eat any products that derive from animals, to include cheese, eggs, and cream. Vegans will replace the nutrients that are found in food that comes from animals with different foodstuffs. For example, vegans use tofu to replace meat that may be found in a dish, along with the use of plant cream and plant milk. The nutrients that humans get from eggs and cheeses are replaced with the substitution of applesauce and certain ground seeds like flax. Strict vegetarians also have their own variation of foods that meat eaters consume. If you take the time to visit your local health food store, you will no problem find vegetarian sausage, vegetarian burgers, vegetarian chicken nuggets, and vegetarian bacon. To replace what nutrition that's been lost by not eating meat, nutritionists recommend that vegans have a minimum of 3 servings a day of vegetables that include the dark green and leafy vegetables, such as spinach and broccoli, along with vegetables like carrots. To further their nutritional intake, nutritionists recommend that strict vegetarians also consume at least 5 servings a day of whole grains like pasta, bread, and rice. To comply with nutritionist guidelines, strict vegetarians should also have 3 servings of fruit and at least 2 servings of beans, peas, or lentils. Health benefits. Research studies have shown that people that adhere to a strict vegetarian diet and follow the recommended nutritional servings have a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, as well as lower levels of obesity. Studies have also shown that a properly executed vegetarian diet is safe for all ages of human life, along with situations that put more nutritional needs on the body, such as pregnancy. On the other hand, if a strict vegetarian does not follow a properly planned diet, they may suffer from shortages of vitamin B12, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, iron, zinc, among other vital vitamins and minerals. To counteract some of the deficiencies that can occur with being a strict vegetarian, it is recommended that vegetarians eat foods that are rich in vitamin B12 or take a vitamin B12 supplement to ensure that blood levels maintain their normal levels. The reason for this is that vitamin B12 is essential to the formation of new red blood cells, DNA synthesis, and proper nerve function. By not consuming the recommended dosage of vitamin B12, strict vegetarians are at risk for a variety of health problems, to include anemia. This is especially critical in strict vegetarians that become pregnant. Vegetarian women should supplement their diet with vitamin B12. Low levels of B12 when breastfeeding have been linked to neurological problems in children. It is also important during pregnancy for a strict vegetarian to ensure that they follow the recommended daily servings because consuming a vegetarian diet has been linked to low birth weights in newborns. Lacto-vegetarian. Lacto-vegetarians follow most of the dietary recommendations of strict vegetarians, except that they consume milk, cheese, yogurt, and butter, but not eggs. This type of vegetarian diet is popular in India. Lacto-vegetarianism is in keeping with the Eastern religions such as Hinduism, Sikhism, and Buddhism, and their belief in nonviolence. Hindus believe that you are affected by the type of food that you consume, and being a lacto-vegetarian helps them maintain an inner peace by not consuming the flesh of any animals. Health benefits. This type of vegetarian diet is good for people that want to keep their cholesterol levels at an acceptable number. They can do this because lacto-vegetarians abstain from eating fish and egg yolks that are high in cholesterol. Just like strict vegetarians, those who choose to become lacto-vegetarians should maintain a proper diet with the recommended servings of vegetables, legumes, whole grains, and fruits. They should also back up their food selections with vitamin supplements such as B12, iodine, and choline. Furthermore, while vegetarian diets have been deemed healthy for all ages, pregnant women should ensure that they are getting all of the recommended nutrition. If they don't, they are putting their newborn at risk for low birth weight, neurological disorders, and vision problems. They can avoid these problems by taking the aforementioned vitamins and minerals along with DHA supplements to help the development of the newborn's vision. Lacto-ovo-vegetarian. A person who chooses to become a lacto-ovo-vegetarian is a vegetarian who does not eat meat but does consume dairy products and eggs. This type of vegetarian diet is more common in Western culture. This is also the most common type of vegetarianism that is catered to in mainstream restaurants. This means that if you're going to go to dinner with someone who is a lacto-ovo-vegetarian, you don't have to look for a restaurant that caters exclusively to vegetarians, because most restaurants will have vegetarian options available on their menu. This type of vegetarian lifestyle is popular with Seventh-day Adventists. The Seventh-day Adventist Church recommends that its followers eat a diet that is rich in whole grain bread, cereal, and pasta. It also calls for the liberal use of green leafy vegetables and fruits, along with a modest amount of nuts, beans, and seeds. When it comes to consuming dairy products, Seventh-day Adventist advises its followers to choose the low-fat varieties of milk, yogurt, and cheese, and does allow for the consumption of eggs. Health benefits. Like other types of vegetarianism, being a lacto-ovo-vegetarian has health benefits. Lacto-ovo-vegetarians usually consume a diet that is lower in saturated fats and cholesterol than the traditional diets that include the consumption of meat, which can aid in reducing the risk of atherosclerosis and lowering blood pressure. Some people who suffer from diabetes can better control their blood glucose levels through the implementation of a vegetarian diet. This is possible through the consumption of vegetarian foods such as legumes, fruit, and green leafy vegetables that can make your body more responsive to insulin. In addition, the vegetarian diet is low in fat and high in fiber, which in turn can help you maintain a healthy weight, further controlling blood glucose levels. Moreover, as well as being helpful for people who suffer from diabetes, a vegetarian diet has also been shown to lower a person's risk for cancer. Vegetarian foods are full of antioxidants and phytochemicals, which have been shown to lower the risk of cancer. To that end, consuming meat has been shown to increase a person's chance of getting prostate and colon cancer. Additionally, studies have shown that diets high in fat have been linked to a higher risk of breast cancer. Flexitarian. The term flexitarian is relatively new and is used to describe people who follow a vegetarian diet for the most part but will occasionally eat meat. You might meet people who call themselves semi-vegetarian. This is the same as being a flexitarian. This might be a good option for someone who is making the transition from being a meat eater to a vegetarian. You can try to avoid eating meat, but if you want to have a small break, it's okay, and you will not feel like you have failed. One compromise that some flexitarians do when eating meat is that when they eat meat, they only eat animals that have been raised organically or free range. Being a flexitarian has become somewhat of an argument in the vegetarian culture. Some vegetarians feel that any consumption of any meat products is strictly forbidden, while others have embraced the idea that any reduction in people consuming animals is a positive. The benefit of being a flexitarian is that you can get essential protein through meat and will be less prone to need outside supplements to maintain healthy levels of vitamins and minerals. Chapter 3. The United States. In a recent study that was performed, it was determined that just over 3% of Americans are vegetarian, or approximately 9 million people. 3 million of those who claim to be vegetarian identified themselves as vegan, meaning that they don't eat any meat products that come from animals, to include dairy products and eggs. Additionally, nearly 10% of U.S. adults, or 30 million, stated that they follow a mostly vegetarian diet. The majority of adults that stated that they follow a vegetarian diet were female at 60%, with males at 40%. There was also a slight majority for people aged 18 to 34, suggesting that the decision to become a vegetarian is one that takes place early in life. The main reason for deciding to become a vegetarian was health concerns, with over 50% giving that reason. Origins. Vegetarianism in the United States was endorsed by the American Health Convention in 1838. However, vegetarians remain somewhat of an enigma in American society, with only 1% of the population adhering to a vegetarian diet up until 1971. This percentage has tripled over the last 40 years, with now over 3% of Americans following a vegetarian diet. This number is only sure to grow as vegetarian parents introduce their children to the lifestyle. There are some scholars that point to the year 1971 as the birth of vegetarianism in the United States due to the release of the book Diet for a Small Planet by Frances Moore Lappé. Important literary contributions. In Diet for a Small Planet, Lappé makes the case for conserving food after she learned that it takes 14 times the amount of grain to feed an animal compared to the amount of meat that can be consumed from the same animal. In fact, she determined that livestock consume about 80% of all the grain that is produced in the United States, which takes it out of the mouths it could feed at a much lower price than animal meat can. The early 1970s also saw the popularity of soybeans grow in the United States. The main credit for this can be traced to a vegetarian commune farm in Tennessee that was given the unimaginative title, The Farm. The soybean-based product tofu was brought to the attention of mainstream America through the publication of The Farm Cookbook. As the 20th century wore on, more books were being published about being a vegetarian. In 1987, John Robbins published the book Diet for a New America, which built upon studies that had been done on vegetarian diets, along with adding new information, and it presented the information in an objective manner. One of the main points that Diet for a New America made was the contrast between the health benefits of being a vegetarian to how eating a meat-based diet could lead to a higher incidence of medical problems such as hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and some cancers. The trend of publishing new findings in health and vegetarianism continued into the 1990s, which saw the publication of Dr. Dean Ornish's Program for Reversing Heart Disease in 1990. In this publication, Dr. Ornish showed through his research how heart disease could be reversed through the implementation of a mostly vegetarian low-fat diet. It was during the 1990s that the American Dietetic Association began to espouse the benefits of a vegetarian diet for its benefits in health and help with lowering blood glucose levels in people who suffer from diabetes. England. Vegetarianism in England has a long and distinctive history. Even before the term vegetarian was coined, there were people in the church that advocated a diet that was free of animal flesh. One of the first church officials to champion a diet free of meat was the leader of the Bible Christian Church, Reverend William Coward. To Reverend Coward, the consumption of animal flesh was something that was not in keeping with the natural order of the world and could lead to aggression. The idea that following a vegetarian diet was morally virtuous caught on in England. This can be seen with the formation of the Vegetarian Society on September 3, 1847 in Ramsgate, Kent. The society immediately had over 100 people sign up to be members, a number that rose to over 250 the following year. The idea of vegetarianism spread quickly across the country, and by 1849, the Vegetarian Society newsletter, The Vegetarian Messenger, had a circulation of approximately 5,000. Expansion. Vegetarianism in England spread relatively fast. 1877 saw the formation of the London Food Reform Society, which not only swore off animal flesh, but alcohol and tobacco. Vegetarian meetings were held all across Britain, from Glasgow to London and Liverpool. The movement became so influential that even a vegetarian hotel was opened in Birmingham at the turn of the 20th century. Throughout the 20th century, vegetarianism continued to grow throughout England, with interruptions to vegetarian diets due to the First and Second World Wars. It was after the Second World War, in the 1950s, that vegetarianism in England began to prosper once again. Restaurants in London started to include vegetarian selections, which not only attracted vegetarians to their restaurants, but also gave customers the opportunity to try something new. Restaurants offering vegetarian options on their menus coincided with vegetarian societies and clubs across the country beginning to work together and putting out a common message about the benefits of living a vegetarian lifestyle. As in the United States, medical professionals, doctors, and researchers became involved in investigating the vegetarian diet. Prior to Dr. Dean Ornish in the United States, Dr. Frank Woke studied the vegetarian diet in England starting in the 1950s. His research, like Dr. Ornish's that was to follow, showed the benefits of eating a vegetarian diet and its help with weight loss and lowering the risk of cardiac problems in people that ate a vegetarian-based diet. Today, vegetarian restaurants can be found all across England. India. Perhaps no other country on the planet is as closely associated with vegetarian cuisine than India. Indians have been closely linked with vegetarianism dating back to the birth of Buddhism and its emphasis on nonviolence. Their belief in nonviolence goes hand in hand with its reverence for cows and seeing them as an animal that provides for them, so its flesh should not be consumed by humans. That's not to say that all Indians are vegetarian, but it does enjoy popularity in many of India's states. Many Indian states have populations that are over 50% vegetarian, with more states just below that level, in a country that has over 1 billion people. It makes for a lot of vegetarians. The state that boasts the largest percent, nearly 70% vegetarian, is Gujarat, located on the western coast of India. Gujarat. Their morning meal is usually made up of rice, lentils, roti, and vegetables. In the evening, a favorite meal is known as khichdi kadi, which is a dish made up of rice and lentils. However, their food selections are not just limited to rice and lentils. Staples of Gujarati's cuisine include cereal, buttermilk, fruits, vegetables, yogurt, chutney, ghee, and pickles, along with various spices that are used during food preparation. Andhra Pradesh. The South state of Andhra Pradesh is also well known for its vegetarian dishes. Andhra Pradesh cuisine is infused with the use of different varieties of pickles that are available at different times of the year. It is also known for its spiciness, which is why you will find curd served quite often with meals as a counterbalance. Like the cuisine that is found in Gujarat, food staples in Andhra Pradesh are rice, lentils, and various vegetables. Punjab. The Punjab region of India is known for its diversity in food preparation. This includes many vegetarian dishes. Punjabi cuisine incorporates the use of ghee or clarified butter, along with rice cooked in sugarcane juice. Most of the dishes include whole wheat with the use of garlic and ginger for seasoning. Like other regions and states in India, you will find dishes that have lentils and are served with curd to take a bit out of the spiciness. You will also find dishes that are prepared using buttermilk, as well as the use of red and black beans. Germany. At first thought, one might not think of Germany as having a sizable vegetarian population, especially with it being famous for its sausage and schnitzel. However, recent studies have shown that Germany's population is about 11% vegetarian, which is a greater percent of the population being vegetarian than even the United States. Some of this growth in vegetarianism in Germany can be traced to its increasing population diversity. According to new government data, nearly 1 in 5 Germans has immigrated to Germany. This growing diversity has added to the variety of foods that are available at German supermarkets, as well as adding to the assortment of restaurants that cater to immigrants and native Germans. Shopping for vegetarian foods in Germany can be a little tricky if you're not familiar with the language or have a native German to help you pick the right packages. This is because, unlike countries such as the United States and England, Germany doesn't have a system to label their food as vegetarian. So if you find yourself in this predicament, get a good German dictionary so you'll be able to make out what the ingredients are in the package of food that you want to buy. If you choose to take your meals at a restaurant, you shouldn't have any trouble finding vegetarian selections on the menu. This is especially true if you're visiting any of the large cities across the country. However, even the smaller eateries in rural parts of the country have at least one selection available on their menu. Chapter 4. Vegetarian Food and Your Health. Switching to a vegetarian diet can be an exciting and fun way to attain a healthier lifestyle. As we have previously learned, vegetarians do not eat meat, poultry, or fish, although some do eat dairy or eggs. If you choose to follow one of these diets and lifestyles, you will find that your risks of contracting certain diseases will fall. Cardiovascular disease. Studies that have been conducted on vegetarians have shown that they have lower cholesterol levels than people who consume red meat. This is because cholesterol is found in animal products to include milk and eggs. Therefore, if you choose to become a lacto-vegetarian, you will be consuming much lower levels of cholesterol than if you stayed on a meat-based diet. To that end, vegetarian meals are also low in saturated fat, one of the leading causes of cardiovascular disease. In addition, studies have shown that consuming plant proteins instead of animal proteins have led to vegetarians having lower cholesterol levels. Hypertension. There have also been many studies conducted on vegetarians in concern to their blood pressure. Results have shown that vegetarians on average have lower blood pressure than people who consume red meat as a regular part of their diet. Adhering to a vegetarian diet is beneficial for people who suffer from hypertension due to it being low in sodium and cholesterol. In some cases, people who have suffered from hypertension and switched to a vegetarian diet have been able to stop taking medication to keep their blood pressure under control. Diabetes. Becoming a vegetarian can also be advantageous to people who suffer from diabetes. A vegetarian diet is high in complex carbohydrates and low in fat, which are essential in keeping a diabetic person's blood glucose level at a more normal range. Some people who suffer from diabetes have actually been able to come off their medication once they switch to a vegetarian diet, while others have seen a decrease in the amount of self-injected insulin they require in order to keep their blood glucose level within an acceptable range. Cancer. Committing to a vegetarian diet can also reduce the risk of some cancers. Studies have shown that people who live in countries and cultures that have a vegetarian diet or nearly vegetarian diet have less incidence of breast and colon cancer in their population. It's believed that this is achieved because vegetarian diets are low in fat and high in fiber. In addition, vegetables are high in beta-carotene that has been shown to help lower the risk of getting cancer. It has also been discovered that people who follow a vegetarian diet have more of what are called killer cells that are able to protect the body by fighting off and killing cells that are turning cancerous. Other diseases. Just as vegetarians are at a lower risk of getting some cancers, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes, they are at a lower risk for being afflicted with gallstones, kidney stones, or osteoporosis. This is due to consuming plant proteins instead of animal protein. Eating high quantities of animal protein has been shown in studies to dramatically decrease the amount of calcium from human bones. With the vegetarian diet, the consumption of plant proteins can help people from getting osteoporosis. Chapter 5. How to plan a vegetarian diet. If you're making the switch to a vegetarian diet, don't be overwhelmed when it comes to making a shopping list so you can start preparing vegetarian meals at home. It's not a difficult job to make sure that you have everything you need to succeed in your new endeavor. Make sure you buy plenty of grains, green leafy vegetables, beans, and nuts. If you're unsure of how to prepare vegetarian meals, invest in a vegetarian cookbook, which are plentiful at your local bookstore, or look online for recipe ideas. Simple guidelines for the beginner. Start with simple and easy-to-prepare meals such as brown rice and mix in your favorite vegetables. You can even add flavor to rice by adding apple juice to the water when cooking it. Take a trip to your local ethnic market. Many of these markets, especially ones that cater to people from the Middle East, will have a variety of vegetarian selections available and will be able to give you some pointers about how to prepare food that you might not be familiar with. To curb your temptation to fall off the vegetarian wagon while you have a day out, pack some nuts, granola, fresh or dried fruit, along with some juice. Chapter 6. What about protein? Getting the right amount of protein is important to maintain human health. It was once believed that a vegetarian diet could not deliver the proper amount of protein that humans needed without including at least some red meat. However, this has been proven not to be the case. If you follow a proper vegetarian diet with the right amount of beans, grains, lentils, and vegetables, you get all of the essential amino acids that you need to maintain a healthy life. The benefit of consuming plant proteins instead of animal protein is that you will not only be eating a healthier diet, but your risk for many medical problems will be lowered. Eating a diet that is high in animal protein increases your risk for developing kidney disease, certain cancers, kidney stones, and even osteoporosis. How about calcium? Don't be worried that by becoming a vegetarian that you will not be getting the required amount of calcium that's needed to maintain your body's health. The benefit of being a vegetarian is that a proper vegetarian diet does not contain protein from animals. Diets that are high in animal proteins have been shown to cause bones to lose calcium and possibly lead to osteoporosis. Along with the use of plant proteins to maintain healthy calcium levels, vegetarians can find foods that are a good source of calcium. Good sources of calcium in a vegetarian diet include soy milk, soybeans, lentils, almonds, and some dried fruit. Chapter 7. Supermarket Shopping Tips. When you have made the decision to become a vegetarian, you will also have the task of relearning your favorite supermarket. You'll have to find things on aisles that you may never have been down before. As most supermarkets are generally laid out in like fashion, it is good to know the sections where vegetarian foods can be found. Most supermarkets now offer a health food section, and it is here where you will find products like vegetarian burgers, sausage, and roasts. The refrigerated section of your supermarket is where you will find tofu, hummus, vegetarian bacon, vegetarian hot dogs, and egg-free pasta. Other vegetarian staples will be where they have always been. These items include rice, beans, pasta, and spaghetti sauce. Of course, you should already know where they keep the vegetables at your local supermarket. A sample of a vegetarian menu. Making the switch to become a vegetarian does not mean that your daily meals will be filled with bland food that resembles bark from a tree. There are many choices that you can make to have delicious and attractive-looking meals. For breakfast, have oatmeal, toast with peanut butter, your favorite fruit, and cereal with soy milk, and top it off with a sliced banana or your other favorite fruit. At lunchtime, you can choose from having a veggie burger, garden salad, baked sweet or regular potato topped with your favorite vegetables, hummus, or a hearty vegetable soup with crackers, or a bowl of fresh fruit. For dinner, you could choose from having burritos stuffed with beans, rice, tomatoes, and avocado, or a fresh garden salad. You could opt for a Chinese stir-fry made with tofu and vegetables such as broccoli, onions, and ginger, or vegetarian sausage. You could also have pasta topped with a vegetarian spaghetti sauce, or just a nice selection of your favorite vegetables with a nice vegetarian dip. If you get hungry during the day, make sure that you have some vegetarian snacks on hand, like fresh fruit, trail mix, dried fruit, or a soy-based yogurt. This has been Vegetarian, the ultimate guide to a healthy vegetarian diet, written by George M. Clark, read by Jesse Gross.